this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And I wanted to come back in and do an update video to the last video that I did concerning the missing daughter of one of my fellow YouTubers. I wanted to let you guys know that she was found safely. She's okay and she's back home. Now that's where I wanted to start this at, with the aftermath of it. Because when I did the video before, I talked about how there were other YouTubers that had come on and made videos about our fellow YouTuber and the relationship she had with her daughter, and the fact that, this YouTuber had a bad past here on YouTube, and they believed that it was all a scam and all of that. Well, right after I got the information that the young lady was okay, there were some videos made by the mother, which is the fellow YouTuber, and then her mother. And I just sat back and I watched the interplay of, the relationship between basically the grandmother, the mother, and the daughter who was missing. And there was a lot there to unpack. But before I do that, I wanted to also respond to a comment that I got down in my comment section. One of you posted a comment because I had said that if this young lady ran into foul play and all of this had ended badly, then all of those YouTubers that had come out with those very disparaging videos would feel bad. So when this young lady was found, someone put a comment down in my comment section and told me I should feel bad. And this is pretty much what I responded to them. When another parent tells me that their young person is missing, that's all I hear. I don't care about what happened in the past. If this child, this young person, is nowhere to be found and no one has heard from them for several days, and this is the story that we heard, then I immediately start praying. I err on the side of caution, and every time that I think about that young person, I say prayers for them. So basically, I don't feel stupid at all because I prayed that she was found safely and all of that. So basically, bump that person who put the comment down in my comment section. It's irrelevant. And I think it was a stupid, idiotic comment. So to me, that person must be a fan of those people who made all of those negative videos. Because the bottom line is the young lady was found safe. Okay? So now that that's out the way, I wanted to unpack a lot of what I saw in the videos with once this young lady was found and all the family dynamic that was going on. The first thing I can say is that you can clearly see that this is a family that has dysfunction going on. From what we know in the past, the YouTuber, Rita, comes from a troubled home herself. Okay, this is the mother of the girl that was missing. From what I'm understanding, Rita's mother was on drugs. And she had Rita when she was young. And Rita, when she was younger, like a teenager, she had her daughter. And that's not the dysfunction, because a lot of us have family members who have, daughters who had young pregnancies. So that's not the dysfunction. But when you dissect each one of these women in their own right, so I'm going to start with the grandmother. As I sat there and watched when she told her daughter, because first of all, the 21-year-old daughter lives with the grandmother because of the problems that she was having with her mother. So the grandmother called the mother and said, I haven't seen basically your daughter, my granddaughter, in a few days. I haven't heard from her. And she's the one that led the mother to believe that the daughter was abducted and all of this. So that brings the mother in. Of course, it's her child, whether the child lives with her or not. She is still the woman that gave birth to her. So when I stood there and I just watched the mother, I got from the mother that she was a little manipulative. Because in the aftermath of the daughter Lala being found, Lala comes out and says, "You knew where I was all along. I called you. We spoke. I told you, where I was going or where I was going to be. Um, and you knew this." So when you were watching that back and forth between them, you noticed that the mother tried to kind of, and I meant the grandmother, tried to talk over the daughter. There was a video when the daughter was supposed to be missing that the mother and the grandmother did. And in these videos, series of little snippets, the grandmother talks about the granddaughter's paycheck and her food stamp card and this and that. And the conversation was not that of a grandmother who has had to call her grandchild's mother, which is her child, to tell her that her child is missing. Think about it. For all of you who was listening, if your child was living with your mother and your mother called you and said, "I haven't seen her in a few days. I believe she's missing. I believe something has happened." When you arrived at the grandmother's house, she wouldn't be talking about food stamp cards and paychecks and all of this. Everyone involved would be frantic. So when the mother gets there, it's just all kinds of confusion. The mother is Rita. She gets there. And they're trying to discuss, the game plan, how we're going to go out and look, call the police, let's get this started. The mother is frantic, as a mom would be if she received a call that her child is missing. But when you hear the stuff that the grandmother is saying in the background, and I'm not the only YouTuber that noticed these things, it didn't make sense when you look at the situation that they were in. So as another YouTuber said, it sent up a red flag to me. The grandmother talked about changing the locks on the doors. And you're thinking, if this young person is missing, why do you choose now to change the locks? She talked about a lot of things that were not appropriate for the situation that was occurring. A young woman is missing. You're claiming you believe she's being held hostage and all of this stuff that, we found out as this story unfolded. Then you have the mother of the person, of the young girl, Lala, that was missing. She did, from what I could see, everything that a mother would be doing. She reacted the way, even though, when you're dealing with young people, you sometimes, when they're acting out or you two are not getting along, you almost go through, as a mother, you love your child, but you hate their ways. And sometimes, it's best that because you guys don't get along, that you part. I remember when my daughter was younger, we went through a very rough patch where to her, I was the enemy. And I'm pretty sure when she got with her friend's mother, she probably talked about me like a dog. So, and I'm not going to say probably, I know she did. No proof, but I just know her, and I know she was going to plead her case. Now, I'm not saying that that's what happened in the situation with Rita and her daughter, because there were accusations of abuse, neglect, and a lot of other things that were going on in Rita's house. But what I got from watching all these little snippets of videos is Rita's mother is manipulative. Rita turned out the way that she did because of her mother. That is not Rita's fault. When you are being raised, you take on the characteristics of the people that are raising you. If you are the person that was raised in a quiet house that made sense, where even if it was just one parent, there were rules, there were routines, there was, people getting up in the morning, going to work, and kids going out to school. Parent comes home, dinner is made, homework is done, baths are taken, school clothes are laid out. There's a routine, there's rules, and it makes sense. But when you're raised in a home that is full of chaos, drug addicted mother, probably missing, neglecting, neglectful because she's on drugs, that child, which is Rita, is not going to turn out okay. Some do and some don't. Because of the chaos that they grew up in, a lot of times when they grow up and they begin their own homes, their homes are chaotic because that's all they know. It's normal to them to live in chaos and, things not quite right in the home because that's what they're used to. It's as normal as a person who grew up in a calm environment that was nurturing and the parent is a decent, good parent trying. So I'm not trying to excuse Rita, but when you watch Rita's mother, you clearly understand why Rita is the way she is and turned out the way she did. Because in her home, there was allegations of abuse, drug abuse on her part, sexual abuse, all kinds of things. But this just is dysfunction. A lot of us have family members that we don't speak about in polite company because you know that within that family, your family member, that there's a lot going on there, and you may hide it to the public, but behind closed doors, the family is talking about this other family member, how she doesn't take care of her kids or she's not doing right with this. We all have family members like that. Now, as all of this is playing out with Rita, finding out that her daughter is okay and that basically the mother, I believe, now this is what I believe, just watching the mother, the grandmother. I believe that the young girl was living with her grandmother. And the grandmother was used to the girl pitching in financially. Now, mind you, this young woman is 21 years old. So in that household, she probably had to contribute to, food and helping pay bills and all of that. And the grandmother knew the the password to her cell phone. She knew, had access, I guess, to her food stamp card and knew when the girl got paid and that her check wasn't cashed or that her check had been deposited and she hadn't spent any money. To me, that's a little bit too much for a 21-year-old. Now, let me just tell y'all this. When my kids were younger, and again, I have a 33-year-old son and a 25-year-old daughter. So I'm going to start with each one of them. When they got jobs and they were 18 or over, I made them pay me something. If they got paid every 2 weeks, I would say something like $25 every 2 weeks. They weren't paying to live with me. But what they were doing is I set an amount to get them used to knowing that, okay, when I get paid, I got to give mom $25 and I'm using my son. I got to have enough money to get my hair cut. I have to put aside enough money to get back and forth to work. In other words, teach them how to plan their money out to make it last for 2 weeks, pay what they owe, and still have money left in their pocket. A lot of times when my son would pay me that $25, I would take it right to the grocery store and buy $25 worth of junk food or extra bread or milk or boxes of cereal, because anyone who's raised a teenage boy or a young man know that they can eat. So you're always needing to buy massive amounts of food when you're raising, teenage boys and young men. So a lot of times when he would give me his money, I would just go out and buy him stuff. Like I'd look in his room. Oh, he doesn't have deodorant. While I'm out, I'm going to take his $25, make sure he has deodorant and shaving cream and, all of that, because he still was living at home, but he was working. I did not, I made sure that he had a bank account so he could have direct deposit, but I did not have, his banking information, because that teaches them responsibility to handle their own, bank. So that way, when they go out in the world, they have a checking account. They know they got to take this out. Y'all get what I'm saying. When it came to my daughter, same thing. My kids are 8 years apart. When my daughter's turn came, I did the same thing with her. Okay, give me $25. That way, the rest of your little check, you can get your hair done, your nails, and, buy little things that she wanted as she became an older teenager, little makeup and outfits, and go to the mall with her little girlfriends and all of that stuff. But paying me that $25 taught them that when you go out in the world, pay all your bills first, whatever you owe, and then whatever is left, you know, is used for fun times. But make sure you have a way to work, you have a little bit of money left in your pocket, and all of your bills are paid. So if the grandmother was doing it that way, I could understand it. But knowing the password to her phone, and she's 21 years old, I wasn't that involved in every little aspect of my children's life. They are human beings that, even though they're your child, they deserve some measure of privacy, you know, even to at a certain point, when my kids got to a certain age, even though it was my house, before I entered their room, I would knock on the door and I would wait till they say, "Yes, Mom," and then I would open the door. Because even though it was my house, if they went in their room and closed their door, then I figured they wanted some quiet time. They're in their room, so they're not really doing anything. My son had a game in his room and a television, and my daughter had her television and, her computer, and, they would be in their rooms. And it wasn't any big thing. It taught them, that, I can close my door and my mom, it's mutual respect, basically, is what it is. You're teaching them that I recognize that you're getting older now. And how I used to burst into your room when you were younger, now I'm giving you the respect of the age that you are. I'm knocking on the door. It's not that they're grown or anything, but you're teaching them I'm starting to have respect for you because you're getting older. All of that stuff about being in that young woman's business was too much. And I believe that, just like the young lady said, the reason why she left for a few days is because she needed a break from her grandmother. She needed to be out with her friends. The young lady even mentioned in the video that even when she's in the house, the grandmother follows her from room to room. Now another thing I'm going to say about the grandmother. I'm older than the grandmother. The grandmother is in her early 50s with a 21-year-old granddaughter. I'm mid 50s. I'm closer to 56 than I am to 55. So to me, it was almost like when the granddaughter left, the grandmother felt betrayed and stirred up some mess and concocted this big story. I don't believe that Rita had anything to do with the concocting of this elaborate story that the granddaughter was missing and that she had been abducted, and someone had sent a text message saying that they wanted $7,000 ransom and all of this. And the reason why I believe that Rita didn't have anything to do with it is because her response when she read the text, what she said to her mother. You mean to tell me you got a text? So wait a minute, you've been having contact with the person that you think has my child, and that there's something, being done to her? And basically you're just now telling me this? So this whole thing, what I took away from it is massive dysfunction in the family. Rita was never taught how to be a good mother because her mother was not a good mother. It's generation. It's like a generational curse. Young mothers who are not equipped to be parents are parents. And then they're messed up themselves. So when they're raising their kids and you throw drugs in it, it makes the situation even worse. I will say this. I am so glad that this story had, if not a happy ending, a positive ending, meaning that that young lady just picked up and left for a few days to go clear her head and hang out with her friends and just have some fun. Y'all, one thing that I know about being young, I'm not so old where I forgot what it's like to be young and want to be free and to fly. You know, the world when you're 21 is so new to you. You know, you've been under your parents, with them dictating every part of your life. So at 21, you're really getting a first step out into the world. And I believe that as parents, if you raise them right, you need to allow them to fly a little bit, you know? If she's agreeing, because at 21, basically, she can move out, get her own apartment. She has a job. She can get her own apartment and just be out there on her own and not have to abide by rules and people being all in her business. But she chooses to live with her grandmother. Give her some space. Give her some room. I'm going to give y'all another example. My son lived at home until he was 21. And when he was getting 18, 19, 20, you have to ease up on the curfew a little bit. You have to say, okay, this is the thing. I know that you're whatever age, I'll just say when he was 19. And I say, okay, he's an adult. You really can't put a curfew on him. Because the law says he's an adult. He can stay out all night if he wants to. But what I stress to him is there is respect for our home. Do not come dragging in at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That is disrespectful to me as your mother. So when my son would ask, what time do I need to be in? Now, y'all, this is when he was 19 and 20 because he moved out 4 days before he turned 21. Basically, I told him, you'll know. It'll feel like, maybe I should be getting back towards the house before mom locks up everything and my key won't work. I can't get in. I said, I'm not going to tell you a time. Whatever feels respectful to you is the time. And he did. There were times he came in at 1. There were times he came in at 3. He quietly came in, took his little shower, went in his room, shut the door. Sometimes he would walk past my bedroom door and, he would stop. If he heard my television, he would say, Mom, I'm home. And I'll say, okay. It was done in a respectful way. So it's just giving them, because once they get a certain age, you want to let them know that you recognize that they're older. and that you're loosening the reins a little bit. What I learned with my son is the more that I loosened the reins a little bit, the more he told me. He would be out till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, but he would call home and say, Mom, I know it's 1 o'clock. I'm going to be out. He didn't say, can I stay out a little longer? But he said, I'll probably be coming in about an hour or two. I'll see you then, okay? And it's almost like it was an unspoken ask. Is it okay if I come in at 3? So I wouldn't say yes or no, because he's a young man. So I would just say, I'll see you then. Stay safe, get home safely. And that gave him the okay. He had my blessing. I knew he was going to bounce in about 2:30, between 2 and 3. But he let me know he was all right. And I'm going to be in around this time. Okay? And I would say, okay. So, in closing in all of this, y'all, we got to do better as parents, because the mistakes that we make raising these kids, and like I told y'all, when I look back on it now that I'm older, sometimes on some lessons I wish I could go back and do a do-over, because looking back that you make mistakes. I had my son when I was 22. So y'all know that over those years that I was raising him, I made some mistakes. I was human. He didn't come with, a book of instructions strapped to his toe when I delivered him. It was learning on the job for me. And also, I was the type of mother that if I felt that I didn't know the answer to a situation, I would call my elders. I would call my mother and say, you know what, this is going on with Scott. What would you do? Or this is going on with my daughter. What would you do in this situation? And I always liked the advice my mother used to give me. She used to say, Rachel, and when you were her age and, this was going on, do the things that you remember worked when I was raising you. She said, when it came to curfew, do the things that you know worked. The things that you know didn't work, when I was raising you, don't use them. And my mother also recognized that I was a different child than what my daughter was. That it was a different world than it was when she was raising me. Even to when I was younger, I couldn't date until I was 16. Literally, my mother told me no dating until you're 16. So when I was raising my daughter, I thought I was going to do the same thing. And I was talking to my mother about it one day, and she said, no, no, no. She was like, the young people now that are 14, 15, the 14-year-old of today is the 16-year-old of yesteryear. So she says, if she comes to you at 14 and she's expressing a desire to date, do not tell her no. You just frame what dating is going to be. Meaning, I will pick the boy up. You want to go to the mall and go to the movies? I'll pick him up. I'll take you to the mall. Allow you 4 to 5 hours at the mall. And I'm coming back picking you up. And I'm dropping him off. And you're coming home. Oh, you want to go skating with your little boyfriend? Either his parents are going to take you or I'm going to take you. There was no visiting over the boy's house unless his parents were there. He could not come over and go up to her bedroom. It would be basement or living room. I framed it because my mother explained to me that if you, of course, deny her, then she's going to sneak and do it. If she's expressing the desire to date, just set boundaries of what dating is going to be. And y'all, some things my mother told me worked and some things didn't. I had to tweak it because the kids of today, while they are a lot wiser than what we were because of the world that they live in, they are weaker in some other ways. And because we are parents that work. Because you got to think, my mother was raising me in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. So back then, a lot of women didn't work. They were home or they had little part-time jobs. So my mother could watch us a little more. At one point, I had a job that I did not get off until 7 p.m. My daughter could have been at home having all kind of boys in the house. So I had to get her in activities that lasted until I got off work. Because I could have been having a whole bunch of grandkids. Because she liked boys and boys liked her. So I had to keep her busy until I got off work. And then pick her up from places. So she wouldn't be here in my house laid up while I'm out trying to keep a roof over our head. So that's the changes that my mother taught me. I'm just going to say this, y'all, and then I'm going to get out of here. I hope that the generational curse that Rita inherited from her mother, and again, I do not blame Rita for the way that she turned out. When you see Rita's mother, you understand why. Rita has the challenges that she does, that she's done the parenting that she does. Now, everyone that grows up like that doesn't turn out bad. I don't want to put that out there. But some do. But when you see where Rita came from, you can kind of understand why she's had some problems in her life. But what I pray for Lala is that Lala can see what has happened with her grandma and with her mom. And she does a little bit better. And one thing I can say, Lala has no babies, and she's 21. And I believe that her grandma and her mom had babies by now. I also understand that Lala has a full-time job, and she does contribute to the home. And I believe I heard that she's in school too. So she's trying to break the generational curse that was on the women in her family. But I believe that it's time for Lala to move out, to get her own little apartment, maybe get with a girlfriend that, that she knows is doing just as good as she is, because she's doing the things that a 21-year-old should be doing, working, trying to go to school, and that's normal. But she also needs to have fun. So I think it's time for Lala to take her paycheck, her food stamp card, and get her own. Because she can find a little one-bedroom apartment, fix it up cute, and go visit her grandmother, But her grandmother should be out of her business. And that's all I'm going to say about this situation, y'all. For all of you who had positive comments when I had come in and said that young lady was missing, thank you. And thank you for praying for her. I don't know this little girl from Adam, but when I heard that, she was possibly missing and in danger, I was frantic like it was a family member of mine. I just hate when, things like that happen, because you fear the worst and what they could be going through. And I didn't want that for that young woman. I wanted her to have a chance to get out here, enjoy life, live life, date and work, and get her a cute little apartment and do all the little things that young ladies that age do. The things that I did when I was younger. Go out to party, meet little young guys, date and have fun and travel and, live their young lives. Sometimes as older folks, we need to step back and remember what it was like to be young. I have not forgotten. I remember thinking sometimes when I was younger, I wish my mother would stay out of my business. I remember saying that, but I had the type of mother you couldn't say that, because she would knock your teeth down your throat. She didn't care how old you were. To this day, I'm 55, and I do not talk back to my mother. Even though my mother is on the cane, she can't run, and I could tell her off and then take off running. I don't do it. And the reason why I don't do it is because respect. She didn't drill discipline in us so much. It was more respect. Because as my mother say, discipline lasts as long as those spankings that you putting on them hurt. But when they no longer hurt them, then you done lost them. But if you instill, respect, that lasts a lifetime. I have 3 siblings. None of us. I'm the oldest. I have a brother, 54, another brother, if I'm 55, he's 52, and my sister is in her 40s. I'm 8 years older than her, so I think she's like 46, 47. But none of us have never, ever in our entire lives disrespected our mother. Ever. We just started cursing in front of her probably in the last 5 years, and I'm 55, And then we'll even say stuff like, I'm about to cuss now, And my mother will be like, girl, you got gray hair, you can cuss, But it's still, that respect is so ingrained into us, we don't want to be offensive to our mom. Because this is the woman that gave birth to us. I pray for Lala. I pray that, that everything that she ever dreams of, that she achieves. And I pray that she breaks that generational curse and she goes on to do much more than her mother did and her grandmother. And with that, y'all, thanks for hanging with me through this video. Thanks again for praying for that young lady. Y'all stay safe as always, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.